Coming up on today's video, reserve list pricing and the bad news that comes along with it. Hi everyone, welcome back. MTG Moxman here. If you're new to my channel and you've just found me in the nacho cheese universe of YouTube, thanks a lot for deciding to check out the content. I really hope you guys enjoyed today. Smash that subscribe button. Join in the fun. It's the easiest thing to do to help this channel grow because we are getting closer to that 10,000 subscriber mark, and only you, the viewer out there, can help us do it by hitting that subscribe button. And the good news is it's free to do, doesn't cost you a dime. It's going to be awesome. So today's video, I know, reserve list, the bad news. Well, when we think about this, on the reserve list, it's a group of cards that can never be reprinted. I mean, it recently got told me on the channel, I checked it out, that Rosewater stated, it's not getting reprinted. And again, we've had conversations about this. There's no reason for them to reprint other than to make some short-term cash for some possible lawsuits and angry people on the other end. It's just not worth it to them. Plus, they make so much money by not reprinting. Okay? So the reserve list question in this case is pretty moot. They're not reprinting it. But that's not the bad news. That's not it. When most people think of reserve list cards, they do think of the expensive cards like Black Lotus, Mox Emerald, the really big, huge cards like Time Twister, Ancestral Recall, right? Those are the huge guys out there, worth tens of thousands of dollars in some cases. Could be $1 million if it's an Alpha Black Lotus. I know, reserve list, right? Crazy. But how about the other reserve list cards? Remember, there's 572 cards on the list. And of those 572 cards on the list, they can't all be Black Lotuses. We know that. They can't all be the Ancestral Recall you're hoping to have. There are a lot of cards on that reserve list. A lot of those cards, though, are not power cards. They are not the top tier, which I consider to be the Power of 9. They're not the second tier, which is a very small list of cards like Library of Alexandria, Juzam de Jin, those iconic cards that people respect and know, even if they don't always use them, like Force Field or Time Vault. There's those cards on that second tier, the Power 10 kind of cards that almost make it or are so nostalgic, they're just awesome and they deserve to be in that second tier. Then you've got the third tier cards. You got those kind of cards like Null Rod, Fork, Fast Bond. There's a large array of cards that fall into that area of the reserve list. Then you've got the fourth tier cards, the bottom low-end cards that weren't really used for anything other than their artwork or in a particular format, because some formats still use even fourth tier cards. If you're playing old school, there's a lot of useful cards in all those sets, right? All the sets that are playable in old school. Certain cards are good in Commander, certain cards aren't. It depends on what you're playing and when. Certain reserve list cards can find value or lose value. But right now, with the market being restocked, it looks like fully. I'm seeing a lot of cards hit the market on a lot of online retailers, and they have restocked tons of cards. They've gone through some bulk bins, and they have pulled up cards they have found, and they have flushed it back into the system. This has resulted in a massive drop in all of those fourth tier cards. Most lower end reserve list cards have seen massive retracements, and that looks very, very bad for anyone who paid a higher price to get them in the first place. When they saw things running thin, and I bought some Throw Champions for 50 cents, and then later on, I wanted to get a couple of near mint ones, and I paid $7, and now throws are back down to $5. I've lost money, right? Imagine that on a scale that is massive beyond reckoning for all the people who bought in December of 2020. Pendrel Miss, Unfulfilled Desires, all those lower cards that were starting to see gains from their very first buyout have now gone down. Almost back, in some cases, back to where they were. This looks like, and it sounds like bad news for everybody. But I'm going to explain something to you. This is not all bad news. It just looks that way. What has happened is when the market is restocking like this, when they are adding cards back into their stores, they've gone through bulk bins probably for the very first time. They're like, hey, I have to find more Throw Champions. I need to get some more Dwarven Ponies? Seriously? And they go back through some bulk bins and they grab some. And they probably have never had to do that in their lives. And because of that, when they did it and they put it back into the market, the prices went down. Obviously, it's being suppressed. It's all been flushed into the system with a whole new roll of those cards to grab. But because it's the first time ever that 4th and 3rd tier cards on the reserve list have been bought this way, we're talking even stuff from Revised. Imagine somebody saying to you, I need to find a near mint Benelish hero? Are you serious? Even though that's not reserve list, that's what we're talking about. When somebody says, I have a wish list order for a near mint. Near mint. Thrall champion? Huh? Imagine that. That is what's happening. So when all these prices get pushed down like that, that is okay if you're an investor and you realize that you have to hold on to these cards for 10 to 15 years, maybe longer. Remember, these cards have never been bought out before. They've never gone through the action of being bought out. So it looks really bad to see them pull back this far, but it's the first time they've ever stepped up in their lives. It's the first time these cards have actually taken a step forward because they've never done it before. Remember all those older reserve list cards? Force Field before the buyout could be had for $250. I told people to buy collector edition Force Fields for $50. Look where they're at now. Some of those cards aren't coming back. That will be the same eventually for the massive ocean of reserve list cards that are 3rd and 4th tier. Although they pull back now and it looks horrible, this is actually the first time they've ever had the opportunity to step forward into the light and be recognized for the reserve list cards they are. This is going to be a very long journey for reserve list cards of this nature to be bought out. It'll keep getting flushed back onto the system and the price will keep going down and then back up and then down and back up like a yo-yo. But it's not going to happen in the next 16 or 24 months. It's going to happen in the next 16 to 24 years. So for an investor, you got to hold on a long time to see the fruits of your labor. For those who are flippers, they probably did okay flipping some cards right now. Nothing wrong with that either. All those evil investor and hoarder people out there who are like me and like to have these cards, I may not buy as many as other people, but I like to have at least a play set. And there's certain cards you guys know I like to buy. So that's what happens. Just remember that when you see your prices going down, you start panicking a bit. This game is a game. It can go to zero. These cards don't have to be worth anything. It's a piece of cardboard. Are you willing to risk that? Are you willing to risk that $5 over and over again to see a card go to zero or to see it go forward eventually? Like any investment, this is like penny stocks of the reserve list. A lot of people are playing with fire. If you're afraid of getting burned, you probably shouldn't be there. If you're a long-term investor, who knows? You might make out well in the end. I mean, this is purely an entertainment channel. Remember that. I have no clue what I'm talking about. I don't hoard magic cards behind me. I don't have power cards sitting all over the place. And I have no clue because I didn't graduate Magic University. Tolarian Community College did not give me that diploma. And Rudy doesn't answer my emails. It just doesn't happen. Guys, thanks a lot for tuning in tonight. I hope you... Oh, it is night, right? Yeah, it's night. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed this video. You're probably going to see it in the morning on one of these days, even though I film it at night. Guys, have a great one. It was awesome chatting with you, and I look forward to seeing what everyone says. I'll see you soon. Hey everyone, a big shout out to each and every one of my patrons out there. I'm looking forward to chatting with you guys. The patron support has been amazing. Guys, it is awesome to be able to make videos in the name of the patrons on this channel. Thank you so much for your continued support. Look forward to seeing you guys on the live streams. Oh, you're here! Well, how's it going, everyone? I'm just setting up for the next video. I know it's a little secretive. What can I do? I like to move things around, throw you guys off the scent. I know, right? So how's everyone doing today? As you guys know, I've been adding some end video credits of me playing some arena matches just to let you guys know how my new deck is doing. Of course, I did make it to Mythic in 3 hours, which was crazy. Came across a whole bunch of opponents. Now, I still say arena is rigged, just so you guys know, but enjoy these wins because all the matches I'm showing you are wins. And I will explain more as these videos keep coming out to let you know how the deck is doing. So enjoy it, comment, let me know how it's going, and I guess we should do something kind of special, right? Something kind of special. What do you think? how about we just take a Strixhaven pack and we pop it into the 10K box. All right, guys, looking forward to seeing you there. Have a great one. Hey guys, welcome back. MTG Moxman here. I know, right? I gotta remember to show you guys the actual deck tech for this particular deck, but it's a lot of fun to play if you're into that kind of I'm gonna wipe you out and torture you horribly type deck. So this is a green, white, blue deck. The red is actually just splashed in for Rowan, the Scholar, and her brother Will. I like to flip those back and forth as I see fit. And of course, I use a lot of time walking, a lot of board wiping, and a lot of just unsumming your stuff to keep you busy. Now, whenever I'm playing against certain types of decks, especially green, white, or black, in most cases there is never a problem beating those decks. This deck has particular trouble facing off against blue counterspell decks, and timing things properly is key when you're trying to come up with a win. This guy's checking out my hand, seeing what awesome stuff I have inside. Now, the problem I have with Arena is, no matter what type of deck you make, unless you make a kind of catch-all deck, you will find yourself playing against only certain types of opponents. I've noticed this a lot recently in the matches I've played. I've played 3 distinct decks to see what will happen. I've purposely built them a certain way, and it's exactly what happened. So when I play this deck, I tend to get a lot of green or white or black decks. So it's a great way to win and advance myself forward. As I said earlier in this video, I did make Mythic very quickly with this particular deck. So with a little more refinement and time, and who knows what cards will come in Crimson Bow, this deck has a lot to offer. Now, there has been changes to the deck where I took out the Cosmos Elixirs and put in the Consider. Consider gives you that faster casting, which makes things so much easier. Yeah, I know I didn't play red there. I'm not sure what I was thinking, but it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes I make mistakes too, just so you guys know. Especially when I'm in a rush at work or I'm on a lunch break where I only have a finite amount of time. Now, what this guy's done here is I'm going to consider now. Go in and check it out. I always like getting a Biblioplex. So I'm like, hey, I don't mind getting that card. Bring that baby to me. Because the Biblioplex allows me to go searching for cards later on, especially instants when I need them, or sorceries, which most of this deck is comprised of. Now, when I see this big white bad boy there, it has to go. Understand that I can't have that creature living or staying on the board. So I tend to use this card right here, which is multiple choice. I almost never use it unless I have the 5 mana. To get all 3 effects. To really make it worth your while, you've got to use it. And you've got to use it when you can do them all. So you get the card, it makes you unsummon the creature, and it's awesome because then you get a 4/4 creature at the end. That's the best of the best. Now, he'll use other things to take my stuff. He'll do things to slow me down. It's a white deck, of course. But I don't think this deck played the way he hoped he would get me. You can see the card draw advantage of my deck is high. With things like Will, I can draw cards. I have the Considers let me draw cards. I have lots of ways of advancing this deck quicker than most other decks do. You know I'm going to put the Biblioplex there. You know I love the Biblioplex. You know, secretly, I think what I should do is start buying more copies of Biblioplex because it's so cheap. I was talking about that modern day buyout in another video. Maybe I should try to do a buyout of this rare card because it's so cheap, but do it slowly and not let people know. I wonder if that's possible. There's probably millions of copies. I'm very curious how that would go. Yeah, I considered. I drew a card. That's just what happens. So Will, of course, made him into a 0/2 so I can keep advancing Will along. Now, he does have his little creature guy there. Look at that bad boy right there. Always a feisty guy to face off against. We know how that can be. Now, at least Will is holding off the Apparition, but you can see I actually have... what do you call it, the Storm Hall Giant guy, Hall of the Storm Giants, where I can take care of that if they don't pay attention. A lot of people, it gets mistaken as a land, and players who are too eager and not looking around the board make the mistake of always facing up and saying, oh, I'm going to kill Will, man, I'm going to get him down. As this guy does here, look, he's going for a creature effect. He's like, my guy's on 4/4, I'm coming to get you. Now, the greatest thing about the Hall of the Storm Giants is the fact it has Ward. So even if somebody tries to take your stuff out, when they're low on mana like this, they can't do anything. Yeah, I told the guy oops because I was hoping he would pay attention to it, and he didn't. When you see somebody with a full thing of untapped land and a giant sitting right there, you know they're in trouble. Okay? I don't care about that land right now. Let's move it along. See what I'm doing here? Let's move it along. Now, in this case, I have lots of things I can do. I've got options bringing out Rowan to get my life total going. I killed his creature off, and I can paralyze the Apparition. And that's what makes the guy quit. He sees what I'm about to do, and he called it a day. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. MTG Moxman.